Hello, and thank you for clicking on this video. So I wanted to ask you, can you prove me wrong about Charlie Kirk? There's been a lot said since last Wednesday, and there's quite a few lies to stir up emotions from people. And really, so what I want to do is really challenge you to prove me wrong on claiming that these labels are false. They're lies, okay, about Charlie Kirk. All right. So please stick with me here, of course. Now, of course, this is a very emotional. I think on either side of these arguments, it's a very emotional, um, uh, situation, of course. And so, but I want to clearly define my motivation here. Okay, and really, like it was Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. Okay, that says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge," and that is so true. Even the saying, what you do when you assume is you make a butt out of you and me, and really that is unfortunately, this is kind of piggybacks on yesterday's video. There's so much stuff to keep us busy, but really to know what truth is, you do have to do work, and it does take time to see the fruits that are produced from a tree instead of just taking what the tree is claiming or labeling itself as. Okay, because the lack of knowledge, because God is truth, Satan is the opposite, is untruth. Okay, and untruth is not the light. Light sets you free, and the darkness is where the our enemies can work. Okay, so no matter what side of the argument you are on this, I want the whole purpose is to shine light on the enemy, which is not you or me. Okay, we're in the same boat together here. We are brothers and sisters, creations of God. No matter what you believe, this is my motivation. So it's not. I'm not here to prove anyone wrong. I'm here to shine light on truth, shine light in the darkness. Okay, and really, that's what Charlie did. Okay, but again, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So let's bring up some knowledge in here. Let's bring up some knowledge in this place on this video. Okay, and it takes you. It takes you. There is no discussion without multiple people. Okay, so I'm challenging you and asking you to please participate in the comments below. Whatever thoughts or anything you would like to add to this. Okay. But yeah, let's get some knowledge up in here. All right. So, part of my motivation before I go into what the lies were and the arguments that show that they're, the arguments that are lies. Okay. But I want you to know the motivation. So, like John chapter 8, verses 32, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And just like Charlie Kirk, his whole philosophy was let's talk and debate, because he knew truth will stay. Truth doesn't shake. Lies and illusions go away when truth is shown. Okay? The light evaporates the darkness. All right? And the truth will make you free. Free from bondage, free from illusions, free from deceit, because through deceit, no matter what your intentions are, whatever you label them, good or bad or whatever, if you're using your foundation is deceit and lies and illusions, you can be manipulated and used by the enemies of darkness, by Satan. Okay. And again, it's not like you versus me or anything like that. It is us versus destruction. It is us versus darkness. It is us versus the lies. All right. And that is the whole motivation here. And really, personally, from what I've seen of Charlie Kirk, that's what he used and stood for. Okay. And one other, I'm going to read one more verse here. For we wrestle not, well, this is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So let's put ego and pride aside, and let's really put truth first. Is the whole point here? Okay, to put truth first, for you and me. Okay. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about what is truth. And I've talked about this before. Put truth ahead of feeling good. Put truth ahead of your egos and pride, because ego, pride, and emotions can be manipulated and used for our own destruction, yours and mine. Okay. So the first label I've seen many people say, and this is all across the stream, like just personal people, making videos or on media. The lie that Charlie Kirk was a fascist. All right. So let's get some knowledge in here. What is a fascist, first of all? Okay. Because fascist has emotion. These words have emotional ties, and the deceivers in the world, not in your interest, want you to have that emotion tied to the word, but not really look at, does the word even apply? Okay. So you really have to control your emotions if you seek truth. Truth has got to be first. And that's what I am asking you to put truth first in this. But a fascist is a follower or proponent of fascism, a far-right or authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology that rose to prominence in the early 20th century Europe. A person described as fascist typically exhibits characteristics associated with the ideology, such as extreme nationalism, opposition to democracy, and disdain for human rights. All right, so from just that so far, I don't know how anyone can say that he was opposed to democracy or just had disdain for human rights. That was he was voicing the exact opposite. Now, you could say maybe extreme nationalism, okay? So let's go down here. Core characteristics of a fascist. A person with fascist beliefs may display the following traits, which reflect the core tenets of the ideology. Extreme nationalism. Believes in the primacy of the nation and its glory above all else, often tied to a myth of national rebirth. Now, Charlie was not that. He was the people above the nation. And when he talked about our country and loving our country, it was the people make up the country. Okay? He put the people first over the interests of the government, let's say. All right? And extreme nationalism, you would put that above all else. But he saw that the people make the country. Okay? The people were first. And if you don't think so, then anything that you don't agree with here, or if you believe that he was a fascist, please link videos below, not people talking about him, okay? Not people's interpretation of him, but the actual source video of him showing himself or claiming that he was a fascist. okay? Because he was not a fascist, okay? So extreme nationalism. Another characteristic here is authoritarianism. Supports a powerful central government led by a dictatorial figure where the individual is subordinate to the will of the state. Again, he was people first. He wasn't about a dictator. He wasn't about the central government being most powerful. He was about individual freedoms. He was about the individual person. Another characteristic, militarism, glorifies the use of violence and force to serve the interests of the nation and enforce national unity. He was definitely not about that. He was about peace. He preached peace. He was not glorifying violence, and that's a whole other part I'm going to bring up later on here. Suppression of opposition. Uses violence and intimidation to eliminate political rivals and silence dissent. This can include suppressing labor movements and free media. He was totally the opposite about that. His whole thing was about debating, talking, not suppression. About giving a platform, going out to the people, to universities, and giving a platform for people to speak. Okay? There's no way his characteristic was suppression of opposition. Scapegoating. Blame social and economic problems on specific groups such as ethnic minorities, immigrants, or leftists to unify the population through fear and anger. Now, you can bring up some parts of this like, about like open borders, but it wasn't for scapegoating. It was the truth. Like he had facts. He had the statistics to back up what he was saying. Now, what scapegoating is people making false claims, calling him a fascist, and without any proof. That's scapegoating. Okay? Scapegoating is blames problems, and that's what really the people who want to control you and influence you for personal control or their gain, not your gain, will scapegoat. But that was not Charlie Kirk. Cult of personality fosters intense loyalty to a single charismatic leader who is portrayed as a heroic figure capable of restoring national greatness. Now, I can see how that argument. Sorry, I can see how that argument can be made with Trump because he supported Trump. Okay, but why did he support Trump? He supported Trump because of the positions of Trump. Okay, it wasn't he supported Trump no matter what Trump says. He supported the same positions that Trump supported. Okay, so there's a difference there. Rejection of liberalism and democracy. Views democratic and liberal principles such as individual rights and equality as decadent and as a threat to national unity. Now, he did not view individual rights or equality as a threat to national unity. He was trying to bring people together by showing how individual rights are first and equality, like DEI is not equality, okay? It's racism, all right? And he was all for people being rewarded for their merits, not based off of race, ethnicity, religion, a group of people, okay? He was the opposite of racist. If you think he was a racist, please send links to videos of him being racist or claiming to be a racist. Okay? Show that to me. Another deceitful label that I've heard multiple people call him is a Nazi. A Nazi. Well, let's talk about what a Nazi is. A Nazi is a member of the far-right totalitarian party led by Adolf Hitler in Germany from 1933 to 1945. The Nazi Party promoted a totalitarian ideology called Nazism, characterized by virulent anti-Semitism, racism, nationalism, anti-communism, and the pursuit of territorial expansion and racial purity, culminating in World War II and the Holocaust. Key characteristics of Nazism. Ideology. Nazism was a form of fascism that rejected liberal democracy, advocating for dictatorship, ultranationalism, and scientific racism, which justified discrimination and violence against minority groups. That was definitely not Charlie Kirk. Anti-Semitism. The Nazis' fervent anti-Semitism led to the persecution and systematic murder of Jews and other groups deemed undesirable. That was not Charlie Kirk. Nationalism. The ideology originated from the Völkisch movement, I don't speak German, and promoted pan-Germanism, an extreme form of nationalism centered on the idea of a supreme Germanic race. Totalitarianism. Under Hitler's rule, Germany was transformed into a totalitarian dictatorship where the party controlled all aspects of life. Those are not Charlie Kirk. Lebensraum. That's a German word. Hopefully I'm saying that right again. A key concept was Lebensraum, living space. The demand for increased territory for German peoples achieved through conquest and the displacement of other populations. Not Charlie Kirk. Paramilitary groups. The Nazi Party used violence and intimidation through organizations like the Sturmabteilung, I don't know how to say that, or brown shirts to gain and maintain power. Charlie Kirk was not a Nazi. Again, if you disagree, please provide in the comments a link to video where he shows himself to be a Nazi or claims to be a Nazi. Another word that I've heard quite often is that he was violent. Violence is the intentional use of physical force or power against oneself, another person, or a group that results in or has a high likelihood of resulting in injury, death, or psychological harm. It can also refer to extreme force, destruction, unjust use of power, or vehement expressions of feeling or action. Key aspects of violence. Intentional force. At its core, violence involves the deliberate application of physical or psychological force. That was not Charlie Kirk. Harmful outcomes. The impact of violence can include physical injury, psychological harm, death, or deprivation. Sorry. That was not Charlie Kirk. I mean, his whole intention and his whole wish on these outcomes is for people to come together to understand truth, shine light in the darkness so people aren't deceived. I mean, make people think. So there's types of violence. Physical violence, the actual use of physical force to cause injury, damage, or destruction. No, not Charlie Kirk. Physical or psychological violence, intentional acts that cause psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation. That was not Charlie Kirk. Verbal violence, using words with force or vehemence that is intended to hurt or intimidate. He did not intend to intimidate or hurt. Okay. Now the way people take the words, that's not on Charlie Kirk. That's on the receiver. Okay. Truth cuts like a sword, and truly spoke truth. And if you were standing on untruths, it's going to hurt. But that's not his intention. That was not his purpose of being out there. Okay. Structural violence involves unjust systems and power imbalances that cause harm even without direct physical action. That was not Charlie Kirk. So, was Charlie Kirk's intention to cause psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation? No, his intention was the complete opposite. Okay. And continuing on, I've heard him being called hateful. Hateful is an adjective meaning either evoking or deserving intense dislike or hatred, or showing or characterized by strong feelings of hate, malice, or hostility. It can describe an action or event that causes hatred, like a hateful crime, or a person who expresses hateful attitudes, such as someone sending hateful messages. Now, none of that applied to Charlie Kirk. None of that. And I would argue that the people who celebrated his death, that applies to them. Meanings of hateful: causing or deserving hate. The usage refers to something so offensive or terrible that it provokes strong feelings of aversion, like a hateful dictator or hateful practices. That was not Charlie Kirk. And again, post below a video that shows him being the opposite or claiming to be that. Full of or showing hate. In this sense, hateful describes a person or their words or actions, indicating a deep-seated animosity or desire to inflict suffering. He did not want that. He wanted to free people with truth. Okay? Make people think. Are you really putting your foundation on truth? Because when you do that, you won't have pain and it doesn't shake. But if you put it on untruths, that's painful. It's going to come up when the light shines on those illusions and shows what they really are. Okay? Hate speech. Hate speech is any form of expression that attacks, vilifies, or incites hatred and violence against an individual or group based on characteristics like race, religion, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation. While the exact legal definition varies by country, the core concept involves communication that is biased, discriminatory, or demeaning towards protected groups. Not Charlie Kirk. Core characteristics of hate speech. Hate speech can be conveyed through a wide range of formats and uses different tactics to target its victims. Forms of expression. Hate speech includes both verbal and nonverbal communication, such as written text, images, memes, gestures, symbols, and videos. Targeted characteristics. The United Nations defines hate speech as communication that uses pejorative language against a person or group based on religion, ethnicity, nationality, race, color, descent, gender, or other identity factor. He definitely, he did not do that. Now, people claim he did, but he did not do that. And I challenge you to post a link to a video below that shows him doing that or claiming that. Methods of expression. Common forms of hate speech include dehumanization, incitement, and propaganda. That was not what Charlie Kirk was about. Okay? His speech was to inform, enlighten, and put people on truth. Make them question, not just react emotionally to labels, but actually looking at, do those labels apply? And the last thing I've heard people bring up about Charlie Kirk is him being racist. Racist. A person who believes one race is better than another is racist. Racists discriminate against other races. If someone believes one race is inherently superior, that person is racist. And that was not Charlie Kirk. So any of those words, if you believe Charlie Kirk was fascist, or if he was a Nazi, or if he was violent, or if he was hateful, or if he promoted hate speech, if you believe any of those, I challenge you to show a video, not what somebody else claims or someone else's interpretation, but literally a video clip. There's plenty of them out there. There's years of them out there. Find one that proves me wrong about Charlie Kirk. Post it in the comments below. And then, of course, always share feelings, comments, thoughts, anything like that below. Because my motivation here, again, is to keep people from being destroyed for lack of knowledge. It is to know the truth, because the truth will make you free. Because it's not you and me that are enemies. We're all in this together. We're all here on the same planet, dealing with the same things. Our enemy, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That's the enemy. It's not you and it's not me. So let's work together. Let's put truth first. And I challenge you, if you think Charlie Kirk were any of those labels, prove me wrong. If you sat through this video, thank you for your time, definitely. If you liked the video, please thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Ring-a-ding-a-ling that bell for notifications to let you know when I upload videos. And as always, stay strong. And God bless.